Eric B's Daily Vlogs.
Oh, there we go. Recording in product, guys. And now I'm recording here because this is going to go live on Facebook as we're talking right now. And it's also going to go on my podcast channel. If you guys don't follow me on the podcast, definitely follow me on the podcast, The Daily Podcast with me, Eric B. Follow that podcast. Available on all podcast platforms from Apple to Spotify to Google. You can even go to your Google podcast and say, hey, Google, play The Daily Podcast with Eric B. And on Google say, playing the latest episode of whatever The Daily Podcast with Eric B. So that's usually what happens. So jump on that. Available Apple Podcasts. We're even available on Apple Podcasts. So what I always do, and like I always do, I always like to say on my podcast and on my vlogs, I always like to say, let's get this started. Welcome, everyone. It's The Daily Podcast with your host, Eric B. Not only is the Daily Podcast, but we are going to be doing the daily vlog as well. We have a special guest coming on for you guys who are jumping on the podcast right now, the vlog right now. Special guest by the name of Aaron Beelner, who, if you guys are Disney Plus fans, or if you guys watch any of the Disney Plus series, Loki just came out on Wednesday, and the new episode of Loki is coming out tomorrow. So if you guys are watching it today, which is June 15th, Tuesday, it's not out till tomorrow, June 16th. Loki, and one of the characters on there is known as the Scanner. Is that what they call him? Let me pull him up. He's known as the Robot Scanner. So if you guys haven't watched any of the Loki series, the Loki episode, you guys definitely got to watch it. There's definitely a cool thing if you guys are into Disney, if you guys are into Marvel, just even watching that is something cool to have. I told my guest, I told Mr. Aaron Beelner that I'll be on at 6 o'clock. So right now we're all just going to wait till 6, the magic hour of 6 o'clock, to have him on here. Let me see if I can do this for you guys. I know I played a couple things on before. Let me see if my Bluetooth is connected. If my Bluetooth is connected, then you guys will be able to hear one of his. Yep, there it goes. It's on there. So this is a soundbite from his latest show, the Loki. So let's go ahead and listen.
Please confirm to your knowledge that you are not a fully robotic being. We're born an organic creature and do in fact possess what many cultures would call.
Give me one second. Let me go do that again. Here we go. This is him speaking.
Please confirm to your knowledge that you are not a fully robotic being. We're born an organic creature and do in fact possess what many cultures would call a soul.
What? To my knowledge? Do a lot of people not know if they're robots?
That is
Thank you for your confirmation. Please
him
move
speaking
through.
right now.
Was a robot and I didn't know.
What if he was a robot and he didn't
The
know?
machine would melt you from the inside out. Please move along, sir.
Scary.
Okay, not a robot, so I'll be fine. What's that?
Your temporal aura.
What's that?
Please, through the door.
So that's a cut from the movie. So if you guys haven't watched Loki, I definitely highly recommend to get on Loki right now. Go watch it. It's a Disney Plus episode, and we are 1 minute away from him, Mr. Beelner, being on. He's actually already here in the waiting room. So when I spoke to him earlier today, I told him, hey, what can we do to make you feel comfortable? So I promised him a song, and we are going to pull up a song for him right now as we speak, as I get Mr. Aaron Beelner on. Here we go. He asked me to play him a song. I'm playing him the song right now, but for some reason, this album music is acting up. Here we go. Nope. It's not working that way, so we're going to try it again this way. We're going to hit enter. All right. This, for some reason, is giving me a little. Yeah, it's not doing what I want it to do. Give me 1 second. I will definitely get this on right now. This is really annoying. It's already 6 o'clock. Here we go. Coming in live, joining us as we speak right now, Mr. Aaron Beelner. Mr. Aaron Beelner, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Let's give him a round of applause here. Thank you for jumping on the Daily Podcast with me, Eric B. Thank you for being on the show. It is definitely an honor having you on, taking the time for you to jump on the show right now. And like I do with all my guests, go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. Beelner.
Hi, I'm Aaron Beelner. I am part of the MCU, I guess, from this point on. So, I live in Atlanta, and I've been working for quite some time. I'm originally from Northwest Iowa, but I've been in Georgia for 20 years now. That's hard to fathom. It's been that long.
Wow.
20 years. Yeah, and performing. And I went to grad school for acting and at the University of Georgia, actually, and was there from 2002 to 2005. And then I'm during that time as well, fully immersed in performing and writing, and while I'm writing more now than I have ever been, and nice. Which is a good thing. And and now here I am. I live in Atlanta, and I part of the Loki series.
Nice. Now, before Loki, like what I like to do is I like to touch base on what you did to get you to Loki. So you've done a couple of things in the past. You've done a couple movies in the past as well. Let's start off with the basic question. What got you into acting?
Oh, I didn't. That's a great question. I didn't want to do it, to be forthright. I was my first year of high school, ninth grade, and one of the teachers asked if I would compete in like speech competition, and they had a category called Improvisational Acting, where you were able to basically one person created this 5-minute scene. You went in 15 minutes before you were to perform. They gave you it was 2 characters, a situation, and a setting.
Yes.
And as long as you portrayed those, in that 5 minutes, you had to make sure that it was clear that, you relayed that information, and you could go anywhere you wanted. And I got a kick out of improvising. It was a lot of fun, and it was invigorating. And so that kind of got the bug going. And then I auditioned for a role. I couldn't even tell you what it was for. And I was cast, and then boom. And I did more and more. And then I went on to college and performed, in speech competitions as well as on the stage. And then I finished college in 96 up in Eastern Iowa, and then moved to Atlanta and started just auditioning for everything and anything, as an actor does. And you try to immerse yourself in every square inch of it and learn, and I did that for a while, and it was commercials and little bit parts, and then I decided I was going to apply for grad school and tried to get a master's in the fine arts and acting.
Nice.
And honestly, people go, well, they always ask, do you need that? No, you don't need to have a master's in the fine arts to be in acting. I think you should always be learning. Yes. As an actor. You should always be training. You should always be practicing your craft. You should always explore and experiment and try new techniques and find what works and find what doesn't work, you know, and see where your strengths are. And so grad school gave me that opportunity. It was 3 years intensive, and there were only 6 of us in the program. And so it was all about, you know, just exploring and you know, really honing your craft.
Yeah, and that's probably you know, something difficult that a lot of people usually do is trying to owning the craft. So for you yourself, when you got into the business, what are some of the things that, I don't want to say setbacks, but what are some of the things that you had to try to be different than everybody else when it came to, hey, you know, I'm Aaron Beelner, this is how I'm going to do things. You know, I don't want to say the word stand out, but what did you have to do to stand out, make yourself known, like, I want this part? Like when you did a movie like Monster Hunter, you know, you had to win, or not win the role, but you had to show the producers like, hey, I can do this. This is the role that I want. So what did you have to do different?
Okay, so you mentioned Monster Hunter. You know, if I might as well just, you know, go down that path. Monster Hunter was all about motion capture, you know, because I'm playing a cat.
Yeah.
You know, so you're not going to see me, but you're going to see, well, you're going to hear me, you're going to see my movements and my facial expressions, because all of that is, you know, captured. But really, with that, I think that too often actors worry about going too far. And I think you should try, I mean, you know, of course you can't go totally off the, you know, off the edge or anything, but you should always take chances. And with a director or casting director or whoever's looking at that, if they think it's too much, they'll ask you to pull it back a little bit. But if you don't, I've used this cliche 8 million times, and people are probably tired of hearing it. If you don't shoot for the moon, you'll never reach the stars. In anything you do, you know, whether it be acting, whether it be life, whatever, you should always go as far as you possibly can go, you know, without doing anything outlandish. I'm not saying, you know, hurt anybody or anything like that, but you should always push yourself. You should always, you know, give everything you've got and leave it all there. You know, at the end of an audition or at the end of any type of presentation or anything you're trying to, you know, impress others with, you should be able to finish that and say, I left it all there. I gave it all I got. And so, like with Monster Hunter, I did a lot of improvisation and was living with this cat. And, you know, I got to the point that I was actually hissing, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but I was raised on a farm, so I had seen kittens, lots of kittens. My sister loved cats, and we had tons of kittens, and we would find litters of kittens. And kittens act, oh, they're adorable, you think, but when you like try to pick them up, if they don't want to be touched, they lose their minds.
Yes.
You know. And so I started doing those kind of behaviors, just going, all right, I'm gonna, you know, that's what cats do, and then add, of course, you know, language to that. So you're playing this cat, but then I'm speaking like a human being. And I just started just pushing the envelope and improvising. And I remember in one part of that audition, they were asking me to like prepare a food as if I were a chef. So I just went ballistic. I pretended I had, you know, butcher's knife and like a butcher's steel where you sharpen it. And I was going berserk and flipping things everywhere and hissing and doing, you know, cat things. You know, I'd lick my hand and then rub my head and stuff and then keep going. And I guess that left a mark, you know, and if anything, it probably scared them, you know. They're probably like, oh, this guy's nuts. And so, but you know what? It's better to leave an impression of, you know, that than they go, this didn't do anything for me, you know. And I think too often in this business, in this life, when you just leave a mediocre sense, you know, then you're not, you know, no one's going to remember.
Yes.
And so in every audition, you know, you've got to go for broke. And, you know, a lot of and this is funny, I'm glad we're addressing this, Eric. There's usually in all the notes, for the auditions. It always says, try to keep it level and be real and be grounded. And honestly, I don't know what the hell that means. Be grounded. I get, don't go nuts, but whatever. But be grounded. It sounds like some type of electrical issue.
Yeah,
but
I don't really know what that means either.
Be grounded. And so, I usually give 2 or 3 takes, and I'll do one that's pretty straight-laced, pretty simple and grounded, for lack of a better word. And then I always give 1 or 2 that are just totally out there. And those are usually the ones that get feedback.
Yeah.
So with like Monster Hunter, I push that cat thing to the nth degree. And I can share this. I don't know if Mila's watching, but so Mila Jovovich plays Artemis in the Monster Hunter, the lead. And we had a scene, they cut a bunch of it in the actual film, but we had a scene where she's in the galley in my kitchen, what I'm claiming as my kitchen on the ship, Palico's kitchen. And I don't want her there, and I'm hiding. And she, I jump up and scare the ever-loving one out of her. Yeah. And then I started going attacking her verbally and then doing the hissing thing and all of that. And at the end of the day, we were back at base camp, and she said, "Wow, you killed it." She said, "I've never seen anybody play a cat like that." I was just like, well, we're going to go for broke.
That's what I'm here for. You got to work with Mila. It's how did you say her last name?
Jovovich.
Okay. Yeah. So Jovovich, and then
it's a liquid J. So like Y.
Okay.
It's almost like a Y. Jovovich. Yeah. She grilled me on that in an interview once. We did an interview together, and she goes, "Do you even know how to pronounce my name?" And I said, "Yeah, it's Mila Jovovich." Mila's from the Ukraine, and my oldest daughter is from Russia.
Oh, wow,
we adopted. My oldest is from Russia, so I have a great appreciation for all that Mila has gone through.
Yes.
In order to get where she is.
Yes.
It's mind-blowing. She's an amazing person. And I said to her, and I've said to others after watching her work, she's like a Navy SEAL in the entertainment industry, because she just doesn't stop. I mean, they have 3 beautiful children. She works. And, some of the things the first night I was on set in Monster Hunter, we were in Cape Town, South Africa, wow, which was so awesome and beautiful and great. And I was on set just to meet everyone the first night. I wasn't actually called till the next day, but I got to meet a lot of people. And she was doing the scene, and I don't remember the specific name of the scene, but there was they had all the fire trucks with all the water spraying to make it look like it was raining. And she was going through that and doing it over and over again. And she said it herself, when you have a rain scene in a film, you can't have like a garden hose sprinkling. Yeah. Okay? It won't read. You literally, they have like fire trucks blasting water, which you're walking, you're soaked. And she had to redo this fight scene a zillion times with this water gushing down, and she never let up. I was blown away. She never let up. And yeah, there's some really awesome people in the industry they've got such determination and perseverance. And
nice.
Awesome. Tom Hiddleston's another one of those,
Yes.
The man who plays Loki.
Yeah, we got a bunch of questions for you on that one, but I want to save that one. I want to save that one for the end. Ron Perlman, T.I., Tony Jaa was also in Monster Hunter.
Tony Jaa.
Yeah, those are
Tony Jaa is, oh my goodness, Tony Jaa.
Yes.
And Ron Perlman, very awesome. I didn't work directly with T.I. I didn't work directly with Megan Good. She's amazing. I worked, so Mila, Ron, Tony, Nanda Costa from Brazil, who's amazing. Yannick Schumann, who's from Germany, amazing. And Hirona Yamazaki from Japan. Oh, God, they're all phenomenal. They're just really great. They're young. Yeah, I wish I was that young again. And they're really good at what they do, and they have amazing stamina and they were great physical actors.
Nice.
But yeah, Ron is a blast. He's hilarious. As a matter of fact, the scenes that I did with Ron, I was Paul Anderson, the director, pretty much gave me carte blanche about certain things that I could say and do, and I always push the envelope. And sometimes, Eric, I get a little the term is blue, if you know what I mean. I get a little too uncensored in this area, and so I was running with it and having a blast. And we ended up having to stop a few of the takes because people were laughing. So I was like, sorry, we got to do this again. But no, Ron is great. Tony Yah's abilities as a performer, his martial arts abilities are just mind-blowing. I watch him almost every day on Instagram doing something, that he's recorded and going, I wish in my prime I couldn't get my body to do that.
Yes.
And he is, he's just amazing. And his focus is fantastic.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic.
Yes. He's one of my favorite martial artists. If I had to name like a top 10, he's definitely on there. So for you to be able to work with him, that's makes people like me jealous. So you got to meet, Tony Yah, and it's pronounced Yah.
Yeah.
It's the silent J.
Yeah.
A lot of us says Tony Yah. So, okay.
Yeah, Tony Yah. Yeah, silent J for him too. So you've got Jovovich and Yah.
Yeah.
I love that, right? They could be a duo. Well, they were a duo.
They were, yeah.
There was talk of, I don't know, it may happen, a second Monster Hunter. The biggest kick about that show was we opened during a pandemic.
Yes.
And there's 8 zillion theaters closed. And then there was, and not to get into the nitty gritty of it because it's not my place to speak on it. There was a line in the film originally that was offensive to the citizens of China or deemed offensive. And I didn't know, I had never seen the film, it was released and I didn't know what it was. And I'm sure a lot of people didn't know what it was or that it would turn out that way, but they pulled that line.
Yes.
So we never saw it with that line in it. And so you have that unfortunate event. You have a pandemic, and the film still did okay, considering in the theaters. But from what I understand, it did very well on VOD. Yes. It was like first and second place for a long while, when it first came out in February, which is great. And, Eric, I don't want to say that we're beginning the end of something.
Yeah.
I love the theaters. I love theaters. Yeah. I love the big screen. It's extremely expensive to make those things happen. It's not, you've got to have a big budget film that is going to draw big numbers in order to go, into theaters and survive. Everybody's streaming everything.
Yeah.
Everybody's going ballistic with streaming, and we all want it really quickly. We all want it on our own terms. We want to do what they call that binge watching thing, where we watch 8 of them or 10 of them at once. And that's cool. I think we're missing a little, we're kind of losing something really beautiful about, having to wait for something. For example, and we'll talk about Loki, but they didn't put all those out at once.
Yes.
So you got to wait each week.
Yes.
So it's kind of cool. Did you ever, I don't know if you ever read or heard of these, they were called chapbooks or chapter books. And Stephen King did The Green Mile this way, where he published just so many pages every month.
Wow.
So you didn't get the entire book.
Wow. Okay.
When The Green Mile first came out, it came out in what were called chapbooks or chapter books. And so you only got 4 or 5 chapters at once. So it made you want, you were anticipating and excited for the next one. And we're kind of losing that, where we could, I saw this episode this week. I can't wait for next week.
Yeah.
And it builds up that anticipation. But when we give you everything at once and you can peel through it in 6 hours, it's it's a little disheartening. in this industry.
That was one thing I didn't like that Netflix did when they first released Stranger Things. Just to mention that movie. I mean, Stranger Things, good series, but like you did mention, they brought everything out all at once. So it's like by tomorrow, everybody's already talking about, hey, did you see Stranger Things? And you got to watch episode 6. I'm like, episode 6, it just came out yesterday.
It just came out, right? Right.
Versus Disney Plus did justice by what they're doing by releasing, giving us that, oh God, what's going to happen next week? I got to watch it next week. And from the very first WandaVision to now Loki, we're waiting for what's going to happen next week. And I'm kind of, I'm glad they're doing it that way. And, it brings it back to the old school type television where you would wait for the next episode. You would wait for this. What's going to happen? Is Ross and Ross and Rachel going to break up?
Right.
You're on the edge, right?
Right. Well, it built, like I said, it builds that great anticipation. It also gives you time, to marinate with it and to maybe I want to go back and see that episode again. Maybe I missed something. Maybe we talk about it, quote unquote, the old, around the water cooler with our colleagues and our friends and family, and go, oh, did you see that? And what did you think of this?
Yeah.
As opposed to, I saw all of it. It's done. I did it in like so many hours and it's over. And now I'm wanting to go to something else.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, I think we lose a little appreciation.
Yeah.
I think we lose a lot of appreciation because things have such a very short shelf life anymore. Where with this, if they would have put there's only 6 episodes in this first season for Loki. They put all those out at once. You're done with this in a few 4 hours, 5 hours, and next week you're going, what else is there?
Exactly.
I need something now. I want something new, and there's so much material out there. There are so many things out there, and for that reason, because people's patience is, and we have to get through everything.
And what makes it worse also is now with social media, the way social media is, people are spoiling movies for us or even shows for us by, oh my God, did you see? I mean, like when I found out, Aaron Beelner is going to be on my show, I kind of teased everybody, another guest is coming on, And, I do another podcast with a friend of mine and we're going to be talking about Loki, the series. And, we're going to do it on a weekly thing. And with the day that it came out, which I'm not really big on the Wednesday that, Disney or Disney Plus is thinking about doing because it's the middle of the week. People were already talking about it before I even got to watch it and say, oh my God, you got to watch. Oh my God, this part of Loki. I'm like, okay, let me shut down social media for the next 3 days. Let me not read the spoiler alerts. Even a spoiler alert, like you have to watch it. It's really good.
Right.
Even something like that.
I agree with you 100% because then it already puts in this preconceived notion for you.
Yes.
Each individual spectator, audience member, whatever you want to call them, should be entitled to taste it and digest it and make their own assumptions and opinions about it. I not to date myself, but there was a time when we didn't hear, oh, spoiler alert, or we're about to tell you everything that's about to happen because they weren't, whoever it was reviewing or critiquing it wasn't 14 miles ahead of everybody else and had everything already at their hands. And so again, it's a little disheartening, I love that Loki's not like that. I love that WandaVision and, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I wish we would do more things, get back to maybe that. I love technology. Don't get me wrong. I love modernization of things. But we're killing some of those things that I think make series great.
Yes.
Like I said, you want to take time to think about it. Watch it again. Watch it 3 times and then go on to the next one as opposed to, I got through 12 of these in one day. Like, oh, yuck.
And then you forget. You're like, wait a minute, which episode was that? If I'm talking to you about, Loki going through the scanner and he wasn't sure if he was a robot, you're like, wait a minute, what episode was that?
Exactly.
Was
exactly.
that, that's, and that's the thing that people need to realize. It's like, when Loki first came out, I watched it 4 or 5 times. You know, I watched it on the big screen. I watched it on my phone. I watched it on my iPad. And I'm trying to, you know, whatever I didn't get in the first time I watched it, maybe I saw it on my cell phone. Maybe I saw it on my iPad. So yes, for things like that, I definitely wouldn't mind watching over and over again. And that leads it to where, yes, I love technology and the way technology is, but I love the fact that, you know, Disney is not releasing everything all at one time. Because I guarantee if they did, I'd be bored. Like you said, I'd be done with the series right now. And I'd be like, what's next? You know, what can you show me next?
I'd love to add to that if I may.
Sure, yes.
We're all about quantity now.
Yes.
And we're losing quality at an alarming rate where you see stuff now, and I'm not going to name anything specifically, but, you know, and everything I do isn't phenomenal. We all do, you know, as much as we can, but you see things and you go, how in the blankety blank did this get on the air?
Yes.
How is this worthy of anything, you know? And yet they've got to have, I mean, all of these networks and all of these different streaming formats are killing for original content.
Yes.
And so more and more fast. And in so doing, I think they've shot themselves in the foot. Now, I don't want to upset anyone, but like we were talking about, when you're putting stuff out that fast, it's almost impossible to keep up.
Yeah.
How can we can't produce products that fast?
Yeah.
You know?
I totally agree.
So that's the whole point of, hey, you can see it every Wednesday or every Friday or whatever day it is, but not, hey, you got it all today and you'll be done with it before tomorrow. Yeah. And now we got to figure something else to create.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like the Stranger Things or whatever series are on that same, you know, timeline, you watch everything, boom, 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 and then you got to wait till the next spring or the next fall, and then you do it again. Yeah. And it's almost like, it's not to make it like a really rudimentary comparison, but it's like the monkey with the food pellet. You know, we're just pressing the button, press. We got it. Oh, we're hungry. We're full. We're done. It's over.
You're right.
Like, wait a minute. What? It's over already. It's over.
It's done.
You know,
exactly.
And then we wait and we press the button again. You know, so that part I wish we would kind of relinquish from and really let quality take over.
Yeah.
You know, there's just so much.
I think Netflix kind of learned their lesson, because I think in season 2 of Stranger Things, I want to say in season 2 of Stranger Things, they didn't really release the episodes on all at once. I think they made us wait, because once you release a season or a series all at once, now what's going to happen? You're going to have people who's illegally downloading these series,
I know,
sending them to wherever who's going to watch it. And now, instead of making, the $14.99 a month Netflix is making, now people are illegally watching it because you just released the whole season. So.
Exactly. And I don't want to misspeak. I know that happened because I talk, I'm going to mention Boss Level.
Yes.
And Boss Level is, I want to talk about that for a little bit, but I'll throw it in here now. But Boss Level had that happen to it, where there was pardon my term, bootleg version or whatever. There was something leaked and you could get it. And then they stopped it in its tracks eventually. And then the same thing with Monster Hunter had a leak for a minute, and they got that, nipped in the bud.
Good.
And I think I may be speaking out of turn. I'm not 100%, but I thought I heard this. I did a film called The House with a Clock in Its Walls. It was Jack Black and Cate Blanchett. And I got to play a inanimate creature in that one too. That was, I'll talk about that in a second, but I think that I thought there was a leak on that, but they were, it's kind of like virus protection, something gets out and then they've got to build a program rather quickly to be able to stop that. And so, it's unfortunate because it ruins the nostalgia of it. It ruins the wonderment and the beauty of what film and television should be about. I mean, we're kind of desensitizing ourselves with how we're doing this.
And it takes away from you, the actors, doesn't it? I mean, it's like there's a certain amount of money you guys get paid depending on how the movie does. Now, if you have 1,000 people buying bootleg copies, that's
Yeah, I don't see any of that.
You don't see any of that, exactly. So yeah, so that's one thing that I never. I don't want to say, I've never done. I've done, hey, someone said, hey, I got a bootleg copy of this and here's it for $5. Of course I'm gonna be like, all right, let me see what this is. The quality will be terrible. I probably can't hear the audio is bad. But after I started doing this podcast or starting to do the vlogs that I do and thinking of all the time that I put into this and the effort that I've done, it's like, you know what? This is a lot of work that I'm putting myself into. And, I want to, give credit to me for doing things like that, but I don't want no one like, hey, I'm going to steal your footage that you took of this part of San Francisco and I'm going to claim this footage as my own, because that's my hard work that I just put into, I did all that. Same thing with you guys, you actors, actresses who put in hours and hours of the day to film, an entertaining movie for us that's only like, an hour, 2 hours long, just to be released someplace else in, a bootleg copy that, like I said, you guys don't see half of that.
Well, it's stealing, from us. It's stealing from you. What the entertainment industry is a fickle, being, because people think, oh, well, who am I hurting? If I get a copy of this or if I take that, but you're hurting a truckload of people.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many people involved in a single production. What you see in front of the camera is 1/1,000,000th of what's actually going on.
Yes.
Because there's how many people that design, there's how many, direct, the whole crew. Then you've got the crew behind that. You've got your marketing. You've got there are so many people that rely on that. The wonderful people that make us look good, from hair and makeup to, all those different people are wanting that product to do well because they put such time and effort. And I mean, I'm going to go back to Boss Level for a second, because I didn't know this about the production until after Joe Carnahan and Frank Grillo did a Q&A with Collider, the website Collider out in LA. They had a pre-screening last, I think it was in February, and then the movie came out in March. But anyway, on Hulu. And Joe had said, when we first started this, our intention was to shoot in 42 days, and it got cut because of budgeting and politics and bureaucracy and all that. It got cut down to 27.
Wow.
And so you're making a film of that caliber, and you're working that hard and trying to make something look great and that people are going to want, and want to see not just once, but twice, and appeal to a mass audience. And then somebody gets a hold of it and is handing it out or selling it for $5 a pop or whatever. I mean, it just totally cuts the wind out of your sails, because they're making a film is not cheap.
No,
it's not cheap. Even if it's a what SAG calls the ultra low budget, and even if it's an ultra low budget, it's still a good chunk of money. And those people who put that money up in order to make a product, they're hoping to see that money return, and they don't want it just to go back to zero.
Yeah.
They want to make a little profit.
Yeah.
If they put money in and they only get back exactly what they put in, our business is done.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
We're not doing this ever again.
Yeah.
And so when people start stealing from the coffers by bootlegging or whatever, it slows us down.
Yeah.
It makes it harder to make another great product.
Yeah. I mean, Metallica, when they were trying to sue Napster back, I'm going to age myself by saying that.
No, I'm on the same page with you, Eric.
When they were trying to sue Napster because, hey, we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this album, and here you are just going to let people download songs for free. It's like, we're not getting money for that.
What's their drummer's name? Is it Lars?
It's Lars. Yeah, I think it's Lars. Yes.
Yes, he was the one who was so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And actually, I have a really great respect for him. I have a decent respect for that band. I wasn't a huge Metallica fan, but just how, when they first came out during that time and said, we're trying to live here. This is what we do for a living. And then he also, he was on a movie that Dave Grohl had produced called Sound City.
Yes.
If you, I love that. I actually got to see that for the first time in Napa at a film festival, and Dave was there. And Lars was one of the musicians interviewed in that film. And he talks about, they were talking about auto-tuning and all that, and how the music has changed so much money in. You know, back in the days of great, when we have a chemistry with our fellow musicians, and it's the same thing with the acting, and entertaining anywhere. I mean, it's the same thing with your other podcasts. You've got a chemistry with your co-host, and you're building something, and you're putting your heart and soul into it, and then somebody walks out the door with it for free.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't eat.
Yeah.
And that's a little alarming, So it's technology has its pros and cons. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, we're like right now we got a bunch of people watching us on Facebook Live who is enjoying what we're talking about right here, and who knows if someone's gonna say, hey, I'm gonna take this interview and I'm gonna put my words. I mean, people are nasty like that. People are nasty. They'll do things like that.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about your what was it, boss level.
Boss level was
Frank Grillo.
Was awesome.
I was talking about that before you got on before you got on. Frank Grillo, Mel Gibson, Michelle Yeoh, Naomi Watts are just to name a few people that was on this movie. How was that for you?
That was awesome. Frank is a very impressive actor, and so disciplined, and he's much into he looks great. I mean, the man is 50-some years old. I don't know his exact year of birth or year of age, and I'm not going to release that. That's his business. But he's always training. He loves to box, and he competes, and he's phenomenal, and it was fun to watch him. I did not get to work directly with Naomi Watts, but I've seen her in the film is fantastic. I like her a lot. I've seen her in so many things, and I think she's just got a beautiful soul, and it's fun to watch her, in front of the camera. I love Ken Jeong. I think he's amazing. I love Ken Jeong. And I have to share this story. And if Ken's watching, maybe he'll remember this. The first day I met him on set, he was lifting up cases of like soda and water and helping craft services. And and other actors can attest to this, whenever you do beyond what your job is on set, somebody will correct you because they don't want you. Like if I help craft or if I do something, or if I'm trying to help lighting or gaffers, or if I try to do something like that, I mean that's not my job, and they'll let you know it's not your job because one, they don't want you to screw anything up, and two, they don't want you to get injured or hurt anybody else, and then you've got to shut down production and all that jazz. And so Ken's sitting there lifting cases of water and soda and handing them to somebody. And I was just like, Ken, what are you doing? Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? And he goes, well, they need help. And I mean, that right there in itself is exactly who Ken Jeong is, not just as an actor, but as a human being. In real life, he's a doctor.
Yes.
And right before, a couple months, I shouldn't say right before, that's exaggerating. A couple months before he gets on set for Boss Level, there's a story that comes out that he was I think he was in North Carolina doing a stand-up bit, and he thought he had a heckler. So he stops the set because it was actually a woman, I think, having heart issues or like cardiac arrest.
Oh, wow.
Gets off the stage, helps her, waits till the ambulance arrives, gets that all arranged on the truck, whatever, on the ambulance, EMTs, all that, whole 9 yards. They leave, and he goes back up on stage and finishes his set.
Wow.
And that's what I'm like. There's a human, a great humanitarian who's also a really amazing talent, in the entertainment, and he's really funny. He's just really, really funny.
Yes.
So Ken Jeong, Will Sasso, I thought his performance was fantastic in it. I didn't meet Mel during the production. The 7 assassins were pretty much in our own little page, and we were on our own little camp. So our days, so I'm Rashad Evans, and Rampage Jackson, or Quentin Rampage Jackson, who played B.A. Baracus in the remake that Joe Carnahan wrote, the A-Team,
A-Team, yes.
with Bradley Cooper, and I don't remember all the other actors, and I apologize, but he, Rampage and Rashad and Eric Edibari. Eric Edibari is amazing. Michael Turek, who played Smiley, the one with the overalls and the stuff in his teeth. I think he chewed a lot of tobacco. And so the character did. And that's why they called him Smiley, because it was really gross. And Selena Lowe and Meadow Williams, and I don't think I've forgotten it. I think I've got all 7 assassins. We became like a family. And so we were, just hanging out, and we would have lunch together every day and talk. And I still keep really good close contact with almost all of them, and that was so fast because of the production schedule, and yet just really long lasting friendships.
Nice.
And that's the best part of this business.
Yes,
is yes, people love to see the camera, people love to see this larger than life production. And I love to perform. I love to do a lot of aspects of it. I didn't realize I was going to write as much as I'm writing now.
Yeah.
I had no intention of writing, and yet I'm writing series. And that'll lead back to, I do want to address the Little Tin Man before we end this night.
Yes.
I would love to address the Little Tin Man, which was basically the beginning of all of it. But anyway, you meet people on these sets. And from hair and makeup, I still have friends I did a production called Crackerjack back in 2011 in Savannah, Georgia. And that's actually, we're going to talk about Loki soon, I think.
Yes.
And maybe can we lead into that? I'm a wonderful woman, hair by the name of Randy Arroyo. I met her again. I had met her in 2011, and I saw her again for the first time. Back and forth on Instagram. Yeah, everybody's got connections.
Yes.
But actually physical, in front of me on Loki. And I was in the makeup and hair trailer that morning and talking to Randy, and I have a tendency to make people laugh. And I don't think I'm funny, I'll be honest with you. I think I'm not funny at all, but people laugh for some reason. It's probably because I'm insane. But that being said, all of a sudden Tom walks in. And I didn't realize it. And he's like, hi, I'm Tom. And, well, he did it with his beautiful received pronunciation accent. So, and I'm trained in received pronunciation, which is standard British. I'm trained in 19th century.
Okay.
So he walks in, and he's very, 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 just very polite, very forward. And, hi, I'm Tom. And so I'm like, hi, and then I went right back to what I was talking to Randy about, and I was like, so afterwards we're on set with Kate Herron, who's the director.
Yes.
And it was Kate or her assistant who said, oh, you had you had Tom and them cracking up in the makeup trailer. And then I realized, oh God, this is Tom Hiddleston. This is Loki. This is Loki, who was standing right there cracking up in the makeup trailer. So yeah, Loki it was fast. There's 6 episodes. I have no control over this, Eric, but I'm praying, fingers crossed and all this, that next year there are more episodes. Yes. They're already renewed, but I'm praying there are more than 6.
Yes.
I hope they double it.
Yes.
I'd love to see 12. Because didn't WandaVision have 13? Something like that.
But I want to say it did had 12 or 13 episodes on there. And when they did the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and the Falcon and Winter Soldier was 6 episodes, I was like, to me, I felt like the last 3 episodes was kind of rushed for them to finish the storyline. I'm hoping Loki doesn't turn out this way. I'm hoping like 4 or 5 is not rushed into 6, and then I'm like, okay, what's going on next?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's not how it turns out. Yeah, I'm hoping that it's. Yeah, and for me,
go ahead. Sorry.
No. For me, I'm hoping that whatever this ties into, big screen wise, if it's going to tie into Thor, it's going to tie into Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm hoping we see you on the big screen as well. I'm hoping that you're there, with the TVA still doing what you're supposed to be doing, whether it's going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp, Doctor Strange, whatever episode's coming out next, movie wise, I'm hoping we see you on there doing
I
what
would
you're
love that.
doing what you're doing.
I would love that. That
just
would be awesome.
screening people.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that character. I mean, and you only see me for a minute and a half in the first episode. I do appear, and I can say this. I can't say exactly how, but I do appear in the 4th episode. So I'm in the 1st and the 4th of the 6th. I would love to be back in the next season. We'll see who, the writers, go in all these different directions, and that's something I can attest to as a writer. You find your inspiration, and then you find your timeline, and you go and you see what happens on the way. And 9 times out of 10, your end product is not what you thought it was going to be, and hopefully it's better. And usually it is.
Yes.
Usually you have these ideas on paper of where you're going to go, and then what actually happens is totally different, but yet phenomenal. So yeah, Loki is there's a lot to this. There's a lot, and they put a lot out in that first episode.
They did.
It was full.
They did.
It was full.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wanted to talk about Little Tin Man, but if you want to get into
Please.
Loki,
let's do it. Let's do a quick one, and then can we do a little bit of Little Tin Man, and then we'll finish with Loki?
Little Tin Man. I saw the trailers. I saw clips of that. You are a remarkable actor in this. I mean, in the trailer that I watched, I was like, I have to watch this movie. I gotta watch this movie. Just the storyline that was behind it. I'm not, not gonna give a spoiler alert or what it was about. But how was that for you filming the Little Tin Man?
I hope that you do see it, and I'm gonna. Can I give a shameless plug? If you have Tubi, it's free. It's free on Tubi. Yeah. So if you have the Tubi app, people who are listening, and Eric, you can watch it for absolutely free. Go check it out. I would love that. I have to give some props to a couple of people. Dugan Bridges, who is a producer and original creator and writer, and Matthew Perkins. They came up with this concept, and then they approached me when I was in grad school.
Yeah.
So they were undergrads at the University of Georgia. I was in the graduate program, and they said, "Hey, we have this idea, and we want you to play the lead in it." And what they had, the idea is nothing like what the Little Tin Man is. It was a totally different. It was a little person who was playing a sports agent, and it was kind of like not to be tacky, but it was like the mini Jerry Maguire. And it went. We hashed it out, and then I say this all the time, and other people say this. You write down stuff, and then you throw all that away because that's not what you want, and you try again.
Yes.
And so they came up with this idea of this person who was trying to kind of a play within a play, if you will, a little Shakespearean, of he's trying to make it as an actor and break the boundaries, break the stereotypes and the typecasting that he's always going to play, the Oompa Loompa or the Munchkin or, those roles that little people more often than not are cast in. And so they started writing all this, and then they gave it to me in a rough form, or in one of the final rough forms. And I started just touching it, as far as the words and what have you, and feeling it and going, as a little person, I probably can tweak a couple things because I've actually experienced them.
Yeah.
So let me add this into it. And I added, in all fairness, I have a one-person show called Reaching for Anything, which is my life, literally different instances that were impressionable in my life from, kindergarten to like the present. And so we took some of those stories and actually weaved them into the film. As a matter of fact, the grocery, and I'm not trying to be a spoiler, I won't spoil it. There's a grocery store scene in The Little Tin Man that's hilarious, and it's true.
Okay.
It's true. It's a little, there's a little artistic liberty with it, because we got to, kick it up a notch.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's absolutely true. There's a few of them in there that are exactly that they actually happened in my life. And so we incorporated those. So the Little Tin Man was very cathartic. It was very, it was like a hour and a half therapy session for me, because it was basically putting real life situations that actually happen in some form or fashion to not just people who are little, to anybody that's got a physical challenge or difference that has been offended or, categorized or isolated or segregated because of how you look or what you say or how you do. You know what I mean? Because you're not the quote unquote norm. And so that was a real testament to all of that. And basically Herman Mitchell, the character I played, was just the impetus or the MO of that whole theme of that storyline. So I'm not going to spoil it, but he goes through life. He's got a really interesting and awesome half brother in the story, played by Jeff Hiller, who's amazing. I have to give him props. Kay Cannon. I cannot say that name enough. Kay Cannon. People go, who's Kay Cannon? If you've seen any of the Pitch Perfects, she wrote all of them.
Wow.
That's Kay Cannon. If you've ever seen New Girl, she used to write and direct. Kay Cannon.
Wow.
Alec Baldwin thanked Kay Cannon for when he won the Emmy in 30 Rock because of her writing.
Wow.
That's Kay Cannon. Then right now, or not right now, that's not true. She finished. It should be out now. A live action of Cinderella that they shot in London. She directed that. Oh, the movie Blockers, the high school thing where the girls are trying to lose, you know what? She directed that. I don't know if she wrote that, but she directed that. And if she did, phenomenal. That's Kay Cannon. So Kay plays Miller, the female lead opposite of my character. And then I'm going to list them off. I have to. Chris Coffey, amazing actor. He plays the bartender. There's a guy by the name of Ben Rameka, and there's John Milheiser, and there's Eddie Dunn, who plays my agent, the actual agent to my character who's trying to, the actor's agent. The reason I bring all these up is that all of them came from UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade, which is the stand-up, the improv sketch comedy in New York. And so we got most of our actors from that. That's how we started. And we reached out to Jeff, and he said yes. And then Kay said yes. And it just snowballed. And we got all these wonderful, wonderful performers. And they put their heart and souls into that film. They put Michael Gorman. I can't forget Michael Gorman. He's in the very beginning of it. But anyway, Mike is phenomenal. I'm working with Mike on another project right now as we speak. I just sent him notes for an outline for a new script. But it was that. And we shot that, Eric, in 18 days.
Wow.
So we have a feature-length 91-page script, and because of budget constraints, we did a Kickstarter for that. That was crazy. We did a Kickstarter, and we raised enough money to make that film in 18 days.
Wow.
And I want people to see it, not because I'm in it. I want people to see it for the heart and the soul of it.
Oh, yeah, no.
And it'll make you laugh, and it'll punch you in the stomach at times. It's tough.
I saw the 2-minute trailer, and I was like, I'm sold. I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch this. And you said it's free on Tubi. For everyone who's watching Facebook Live, free on Tubi. It's called The Little Tin Man. Definitely go check it out. I want to watch it. I want to watch it just because what I saw, you did experience, there's, some truth to what I saw. And, and again, it looks funny. So I definitely want to check that out.
So here's my thing.
Yes.
I want to know what you think after you see it.
I will shoot
you.
So
we gotta keep in touch. Absolutely.
Yes.
We gotta keep in touch.
The one thing you mentioned about friendship, and you develop these friendships when you make these films. I want to say the same thing when I reach out to you guys who are saying, yes, please be more than happy. There's a few of you that I've reached out to and said, yes, I'll be more than happy to be on your show. And from this day on, we're still shooting texts to each other. Good morning. How are things going on? And,
that's awesome.
And I love the fact that, and when I spoke to you the other day, I'm just a regular guy who just does this, on the side. I have a 9 to 5. I told you I still coach football. I still do all these things. But just the fact that I'm getting to meet people that just last week I was watching you on TV. And now we're like Zooming, talking about your experience and your life experience as an actor. To me, it's like, wow.
When you reached out, and I'll say this on my behalf only, and not everyone is like this. And my attitude is, unless, you're talking about you're interested in what I'm doing, which is flattering. You want to, talk about it on the podcast. Wonderful. It's exposure for me. It's as an actor who happens to be, a man with dwarfism, I'm always trying to just let, people know I'm a human being.
Yes.
So when you have these one-on-one encounters like this, it reinforces what I'm trying to conquer is, oh, he's just a guy. He's another, he's just a regular Joe or average Joe, whatever. He's just another fella. And I'm trying to, I'm trying to raise a family. I'm trying to pay my bills. I'm trying to do everything everybody else is doing. And I happen to be in the entertainment world.
Yes.
And it's nuts. It's crazy, but it's what I do. And, so back to what we were talking about, when you reached out, I've had people reach out and say, hey, can you get me Tom? I want you to have Tom Hiddleston call me. I'm like, well, that's not going to ever happen. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to be conceited or uppity, but I'm not, that makes my skin crawl a little bit. I had somebody from another country go, you need to I want a picture with you two together and you need to sign it and send it here. And I'm like, I would consider that if it wouldn't have been, you need to do this and you need to do this and I need this. And I'm like, it's like, this is an ultimatum or a threat almost. It's like, I hope I'm alive after, next week. But anyway, so when you reached out, it was like, I do this podcast. You were very forthright. You said what was going on and you want to talk Loki and you want to talk the business. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I like what you're doing. I like the setup, and I hope this thing explodes. I want it to be bigger.
So do I. When I spoke to you and I told you, Tom Hiddleston, the Owen Wilsons, they're on a different show, and I'm pretty sure, like, you watch Conan, listen to Joe Rogan, they have them on there. They're not going to have the characters that I want to talk to, the characters that, like, you made, when I saw you and I was like, okay, even though it was a 30-second, 50-second scene of you telling Loki to walk through, and he was like, well, am I a robot? And for that 20 seconds when he wasn't sure if he was a robot or not, was like enough for me to say, I'm going to reach out to Aaron. I'm going to see if he, and you know what? It's a trial and error. It's hit or miss, right? You could either be like everyone else and say, what's in it for me? No, I'm not going to do it. Or you can say what you did and said, yes, let's talk about it. I'm not going to say, hey, Aaron, can you get me Tom? That's not me.
Right.
You start, I got to start from somewhere, and this is where I'm starting from. And,
and it's awesome, and I love it, and I commend you on it, Eric. And
thank you.
Really, I think we do that too often. All of us do that. What's in it for me?
Yes.
Everything we address is what's in it for me. And I don't want to be too cheesy, but in The Little Tin Man, one of the running lines was, if you have one regret, and you're going to see it, you're going to hear it. And I'm going to put you to the test, Eric. Okay. You got to figure out which character says what I'm about to say.
Go ahead.
So that's your test. Then I'll know you've seen the film. And the character says, if you have one regret, please don't let it be that you never tried.
Yes.
And I think in life, when we go, I don't want to do this, it's too, I'll be honest with you. Before I first started this, I'm like, God, it's been a long day. I am just baked. I hope I give my best. I would never back out on anything like this. I would never say, oh, sorry, couldn't do it. But I'm just like, God, I hope I'm doing all right when we do this. I hope I don't look like a dead animal, roadkill, because it's been a long, tedious day. But I made that agreement, and I wanted to get out there, and I wanted to talk to you, and your interest and your intrigue in it.
Yes.
Thank you. That's flattering. And, it gives us other actors, I'm not an A-list actor. Maybe someday we'll see. But that being said, we got to start somewhere, and we're never too good for anything.
Yes.
We're never too good for, I don't want somebody stalking me from the other side of the country saying, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this, or I blow up your house. Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah.
So don't do that, people, if you're listening. But it's I think when we get too big for our shoes sometimes, and we go, okay, I'm above this.
Yeah.
I'm not above this. This is an awesome experience. I got to meet you.
Yeah, I got to meet you.
Talk.
Yeah. And I get to see.
I do have one question.
Sure.
For you.
Yes.
I'm going to butcher your last name. I'm going to try it. Can I try it without you telling me?
Yes.
Please?
Yes.
Okay. Eric, hang on. I'm looking at it. Balanig?
Perfect. That's
Balanig.
like right on the nose. Perfect.
Balanig.
Balanig, yeah.
I was going to go a different direction and put the emphasis a little further down the road, and I went, nope, it's Balanig. It's not Balanig. It's Balanig.
It's both ways. I mean, you said it. If you said it, this Balanig, you still would have said it the right way. The Balanig, the way you're saying it is the way I would say it. I'm getting claps right now on Facebook Live because you said it right.
Awesome.
Yes, it's Balanig, yes. Balanig is what they would say it if they're trying to pronounce every vowel.
I know. People get a little vowel hungry, and they're like, Balanig.
No. You said it right.
Balanig.
You said it right.
Awesome.
And I'm very, very, very appreciative you did that. Now let's get that. And before we get to Loki, I wanted to make it clear to you when I reached out to you, and I want everybody who is on here right now listening to me and who's going to watch later on, I didn't want you on here just because you were on Loki, and the two people that I got already that was on Marvel, that was, part of the Falcon Winter Soldier, I told them the same thing. I wanted to get to know the person who was doing what they were doing before they got onto Disney and how you became part of the MCU. And doing these podcasts and reaching out to you guys made me appreciate the film industry a lot more, from the Little Tin Man that you're doing to Loki that you're doing. It's like, wow, and like you said earlier, you guys are real people. It's been a long journey. Yeah, you guys are real people. And I love the struggle you've put in, the hard work that you put in to finally get you to something like the MCU. You're forever going to be part of the MCU family. No one's going to ever take that away from you. So
it's been a crazy journey.
How was it? How did you say, or did you get like, okay, I'm going to be part of the MCU? What was the rehearsal like?
Well, and we've discussed everything up to this point for the most part. I had the audition, and it's, as an actor, you give these auditions, and 9 times out of 10 now we're doing auditions in our homes. We're pre-recording and doing everything on tape, and then you submit it.
Yes.
Where I miss the days, kind of like this, we were talking about theaters. I miss the days of going in and talking to the casting directors or to whoever's shooting and just building a little camaraderie there and getting an impression made and just kind of opening the door. Where now they're seeing this 2-dimensional thing, and you can have, you've got to be flawless in a self-tape or they go nowhere. And so, but to make this brief, so whenever I do an audition on tape, if I think it's great, I never hear back. If I think I bombed it, they call me. Wow. And I'm like, wait, what? I didn't think I did that well. What? And so I had read for like all of that, the character before, when Loki signs, this is every word he's ever said, I read all of that as well. So I read like all of the little TVA workers' lines, all of them together.
Yes.
It was just one big blob and, of a scene. And so submit that, and it was a while. I mean, didn't hear anything, and didn't know anything. And then boom, they're like, oh yeah, you're cast. And still didn't know exactly what we were. I knew I was reading these lines about this robot, do you have a soul? And if you're a robot, you'll be melted from the inside out. I knew that was it, and Marvel is very good, and as they need to be, because we talked about leaking, we talked about everything is so
hush.
That's exactly it. Thank you. Yes. I was at a loss. So hush, so extremely hush. And so there's different names on things. You don't, like it didn't read Loki. It never read Loki. On any script or anything I had, it never read Loki because they have to. Because if anybody finds out that's what it is, it's gone. Yeah. It's gone, And so I went into even that day, like the first day on set, I realized what it was then, you know, as we're walking in, but up to that point, I didn't know that what I was reading for was for that, the TVA, and I was now part of that, and we're now here, you know, interrogating Loki. None of that until that day. And then, of course, I was on set for a couple days, and they're like, you go home, you don't talk, you don't, I mean, it was almost like being in the witness, and not to underscore this, I'm not trying to make light of a joke, but it was like being in the witness protection program where it's like, stay really quiet, don't say boo, and then come back, and then you know nothing. You know nothing after this. It was like, you know, remember the thing in Men in Black where they tase them and then they forget everything? It was almost like that, you know? And respectfully so. I mean, look what they have. If that gets out, it ruins a multi-billion-dollar franchise. I mean, it would destroy it. It would destroy it. So went in, did my thing. And I have to share this story, this one quickly about Tom and Kate. And Kate's going to be like, oh, if she's seeing this, she'll be like, shut up, Aaron. Kate, the first day, called me by every name but Aaron. She called me Eric. She called me Neil. She called me all these different names. And she had an assistant who was like, that's Aaron. And she, every time, that's Aaron. That's Aaron. You called him Eric. That's Aaron. Or you called him Neil. That's Aaron. And so Tom picked up on it. And it was the end of the day. And Tom looks at me. It's right before we're going to do that whole interrogation. And he falls through the floor thing. And he looks at me and goes, Gary? And I went, Jim? And he goes, let's do this. And we bust out. I mean, we were in tears. It was a lot of fun. That's a great, great family. And yeah, I would love to see that go further. I would love to see where we are, you know, after this season and where the TVA is and all of it. It's quite a storyline. I mean, that first episode, I think and again, I'm closing my list now. But down the road, there's a lot. It's awesome. It's really, really awesome.
Aaron, I wouldn't want to hear it anyways because I don't like spoilers, and you know. No. But I'm just and I'm giving you too much. There's a lot. There's a lot. That's why I like that they're doing every week because you should go back and watch them one more, like 3 times. I'm gonna watch. What's today? Tuesday. The episode comes out tomorrow. I'm gonna watch the episode 1 tonight. So tomorrow when I watch it, I'm like, okay, that's what's you know, and
because it'll help you. I agree. I think that's a great suggestion for all viewers and spectators. Watch episode 1 before you get into 2. You know, even within 24 hours of each other, so that you can go,
and that's the good thing about, I guess, if you want to think about 6 episodes versus WandaVision's 12 episodes. I don't know if you watched WandaVision, but the first
I did. The
3 episode was kind of a struggle. You know, it was like, what are they trying to do here? What's their? It
did. I agree with you, but then it fleshed out. I thought pretty interestingly.
Yeah, it did.
And I was okay with it then. You know what I mean? After I had seen all of it, I went, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm along for the ride.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, you know, because these are the Lokis are 40 minutes, you know, like an hour. If it goes on prime time, it'd be an hour-long episode. And so there's I think it's very wise for every spectator to watch, go back, and then go back. And in all fairness, I'd go back, and then, you know, when the 3rd one comes out next week, I'd watch the 2nd one again right into the 3rd because it'll really feed you well.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be crazy, and I'm excited about next year. I like Loki. I like Loki. I like him personally. I love the actor, and I like the character.
How was it for you working with when you found out you were going to work with Tom Hiddleston, you know, aka Loki? How did you feel? I mean, you worked with big name actors before that.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of names.
Yeah, you work with big name actors, but when you
I have such a respect for the craft. You know, Tom is classically trained. He has, you know, lived in London and has worked on stage, you know, and theater background and what have you. And so I respect him to the hilt.
Yes.
I wish more actors were like that. Okay. I'm going to say this really quickly, Eric. I use this little analogy and I mean it has the greatest respect to actors like Tom Hiddleston. There was a time in my life where I helped a woman. She was choking on a pecan, and I performed the Heimlich maneuver.
Oh.
But I don't put, and I resuscitate her. But I'll tell you this, Eric, I don't put MD behind my name. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have the same feel about acting. Okay. I've trained. There are many who have trained, and I'm not saying I'm all that in a bag of chips, but you've got to have some foundation. And Tom's got that in, 100-fold. And so when you get to work alongside of somebody who's of that caliber, that's my heaven.
Wow.
That's a gift. And some are, some aren't as trained and still got their chops. But there are times where you walk up and you're in a situation with actors and you're like, you have no idea what you're doing here. And I hate to say, I mean, I wouldn't say it out loud to any one person or name any one person, but it's obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious. It's reading. And I did have a moment with one actor where younger actor, and I said, so what do you study? What techniques do you believe you utilize? And the individual said, well, I don't like to get stuck in any one thing. And I went, do you have, just name one? And he goes, and I knew by his answer, there aren't any. I knew by his answer that there wasn't any, it was just like, well, I looked in front of a camera, and that's wonderful. That's great. But I want to see depth.
Yeah.
I want to, if I'm going to cast, and I'm casting some of these people I'm working, Rashad Evans, who's one of the German twins on Boss Level. I've cast him in another production, and he's got a soul. He's a fighter. I mean, literally an MMA
UFC
fighter.
yeah.
But there's more. Yeah, there's more to Rashad than just that. There's a lot more than that. And so when you see that and you see it on a camera, I mean, that's awesome. So Tom is Loki, but Tom is a million other things because he's so good.
Yes.
He's just so
I heard
good.
a rumor when they first started with the whole MCU and the whole Marvel thing that Tom actually read to be Thor. And they ended up casting Chris Hemsworth for Thor, but they were like, hey, we like you so much, we need to keep you here and give you a different character. And that just shows you right there that if you can still impress the casting director to keep you on, to give you another role. And you know what? Like everyone says, Tom Hiddleston is Loki. I can't see anybody else playing Loki. Maybe Matt Damon when he played Loki in the Thor episode. Maybe that. But I can't see anybody else playing him. And it's one of those where I'm glad he's where he's at, and I'm glad he's where he's at, and I'm glad they got to bring this to the the TVA. We got to see you on the TVA, and now not only did we get to see you on the TVA, now we get to watch you on the Little Tin Man. We get to watch you on Hellboss,
Monster Hunter, the House with really quickly, the House with the Clock in its walls. I play an automaton. Do you know what that is?
Yeah. Wow. I haven't heard that.
I played two automatons, so you won't know it's me, but it was we literally lift up Kate Blanchett and throw her out of this house. Wow. It's creepy and cool, and it's kind of like a Goosebumps. It's kind of like it's a scary film for like the younger crowd. It's not it's not like it.
No.
But it's because kids would be in therapy for years.
Yeah.
If they saw that, but it's that kind of Goosebumps feel, but it was really cool. Jack was awesome.
Black, yeah.
Kate was awesome. It was just an awesome thing. And but yeah, back to Loki. When you have those, Kate's another one. Kate Blanchett's another very well trained actor and phenomenal. And when you're working alongside of these people, and like you said, Tom read for Thor, and they went, we don't see that, but that's what's awesome. When you can see an actor who can, not write for Thor, so be it. But we know what he has in him, and we know that he can meld into Loki. I mean, boom, winner. And I love that, and to see that in actors where you go, look what they can do. Look how they. Yeah. It's not to be weird or anything. It's not like they're shape shifting or anything, but they're so good that they can take on that persona and they make it their own.
Yes.
And they own it, and And so, yeah.
I said
it's
it
fun to watch him.
before, where if I can watch a show, movie, TV series, whatever, and I can feel that person acting that character, I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm sold on that. And for you, when you play the robot scanner, and just how I loved how you were just so, walk through, and if you melt, you melt.
Yeah, I thought of, and I kind of took on that spirit animal, if you will, is when we go to the airports, you know, and you're going through security, and those people are so over it, and they've dealt with probably the worst of the worst, and people being unnecessarily difficult, and it's just like, I need you to go through, just walk through this damn thing, so I can go on lunch break in 15 minutes. Just walk through. Now. Yeah. And so there was more to the end of that, and they cut it because Tom and I were just goofing around. But there, and the whole door thing, because he was making, he keeps falling.
Yeah.
He fell through all these things. He fell into this world, and then he falls through where I'm standing. And so there was a little play on that he was going to fall again, and he's like really scared, like putting his toe out, like he's dipping it into ice cold water. And I'm just like, the door. How about the door? The door. And so then they cut all the door, through the door. And so, yeah, but he was hilarious in that, because and then he finally stepped into that little spot, and he waited, and he was like, and I was waiting for it. I was waiting for the drop to happen. Then I thought it would be perfect if, like, he's perfectly, nothing's going to happen. Yes. And then boom, which didn't happen, but that's a different story. But no, in that moment I have there, my job is to peel through him, and it'll be interesting to see. You'll see me back in that position again, and the next person that walks through there. That I can't give you any more than that.
No, please don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Awesome.
I want to watch
it's awesome.
That's it.
Go. So,
Aaron Beelner, thank you so much for being on the Daily Podcast with me. Thank you. You're again, great, humble person. I feel like, for this hour that we were on, I feel like I connected with you in some way, just by the way you shared your story with me and everyone else is watching and listening. It's like, wow, it's like, and like I said in the beginning, I wanted to make sure that I got you on here to talk about everything you did in the past and moving forward in the future and everything else. And I just, I'm not here to say, hey, I want you to talk about Loki. Let's do an hour of 20 minutes of Loki. No, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to hear your story, how you you were picked for Loki for a reason. And I wanted to hear why, the steps you took, the road you had to take to be where you are. And I'm very, 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 happy that I met you. And I'm very happy that
I am too.
I feel like, there's definitely something, moving forward. I'm definitely going to watch The Little Tin Man. I'm going to answer your trivia question.
Yeah, you got to answer my question. Let's see if anybody else can answer the question that was watching the podcast. And we have to keep in touch. We definitely have to keep in touch.
Yes.
There's more coming down the pike in other projects. I'm writing a comedy series right now that we're getting in front of the networks, and we're about to start shooting in July. I need to name my production studio now.
Feel free.
It's Jamestown Filmworks. They're on, you can Google Jamestown Filmworks. Really great crew of people, and we've got a lot on our slate. There's some great things coming out, and we're wanting to do. Our slogan is edutainment for the people, and we want to build productions that make you laugh, make you cry, and make you think.
Nice.
And it's okay to think.
Yes.
I think too often oh God, I don't want to, no, it's okay. It's okay to think about things. It's okay to empathize. It's okay to relate to others. It's okay to hurt.
Yeah.
It's okay to understand, other people's plights and look out for them. And so we're working on productions like that, but we have one called Little Daddy that's coming out that is near and dear to my heart. And it's funny and it's tough at the same time. It's going to be good.
Yes.
So thank you. I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
No, I thank you. And again, I gave you an open invitation. You mentioned you love San Francisco, and I said, whenever you're in town, reach out to me. San Francisco
I love that place.
is finally opening up, and we finally get to walk around, and restaurants are finally opening up to where we can eat. So whenever you're in town, Aaron, feel free to reach out.
I've got your number.
You got my number.
You should be nervous, Eric. I've got your number. I'm going to be driving you crazy now.
No,
I would definitely do that, and I'd love to hear what you thought of the film. And I'd love to. I'll be paying attention to your podcast because I want to see other people.
Yes,
I want to hear other people.
And I want to thank you also. It's what is it? 10 o'clock in Atlanta right now.
10:19. 10:19.
Thank you for staying up. Thank you for being part of here. And I'm gonna again, whenever you want to come on the show, shoot me a text and say, "Hey, Eric, I got this idea. We're gonna plug this show." Feel free to come and plug the show.
I would love that.
And you're open anytime. I told you the days that I'm available that we can talk about your show, talk about anything like that.
Tuesday nights are good, right?
Yeah,
Tuesday evenings
Tuesday nights
are good.
Perfect. Yeah, because in a couple months, Monday night's going to be football, and Thursdays are going to be football. Yeah. So Tuesdays are kind of
Tuesdays are good.
Yeah, Tuesdays kind of.
Yeah, we got to wedge us entertainment folk have to wedge ourselves in all the sporting events and No, that's great.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Eric. Have an amazing evening.
You as well.
And
and if you ever need an extra person to come out to do anything for you guys, I'm not an actor, but
I'm putting you in something.
I play one on the podcast.
I'd love to put you in something. No, just getting to know you, and you've got a very vibrant personality.
Hey,
it'd be fun. It'd be a lot of fun.
One of the ladies that I had that was part of the MCU also suggested that I should start taking headshots. Like, hey, you should start taking headshots and start. This is my agent. You should reach out to my agent. I'm like, I'm not an actor, and they're like, well, you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere, though. And you know what? You've got, I can tell by the arrangement you've created with the podcast and everything, when you do something, you give 100%, and that's what matters.
Thank you so much.
And, you could try it, and if you don't like it, so be it.
Yes.
You catch the bug. I will say, lastly, and I do need to run, there was a moment where I said, I'm not doing this anymore. This was a few years ago, and I said, I'm done. I'm cooked. I don't want this. It's killing me as far as, it's an emotional roller coaster. You have to have very thick skin. You hear a zillion no's. You've heard the Mark Ruffalo story of how he auditioned 600 times and what have you. And you try and try and you try. And you hear no so many times it becomes like a, and, or the. And I said, done. I'm done. And I had like a withdrawal. It was like 24 hours of cold sweats and shakes and everything. And I thought, why? What? And I realized how much it's ingrained in me and how much of a passion it is to perform, and not just in being in front of a camera. I'm not worried about being in front of a camera. I don't need, to be puffed up in any of that.
Yes.
It's just the art of it and the creating of it, and knowing that you can build something and involve so many people, like your podcast, what have you, and get people and they care.
Yes.
And they want to care, and they want to hear it, and they want to feel it, and they want to know what you're building, and they follow along, for lack of a better analogy, they follow along in the dance with you, and they want to make every turn with you. And that to me is why I do this. It's just awesome to build in that sense.
And we thank you for not giving up. We thank you for, stepping up and staying on. And again, everyone who is watching Aaron Beelner on the Daily Podcast with me, Eric B., thank you for everything you've, shared with us today. Thank you for, everything you've done. You showed us, you let us listen to what it was like on stage, what it was like off stage, the people you met. And again, you wouldn't be where you are right now if you didn't take that step that you said, I'm going to do what I'm doing. And, we need to show everybody that not only are there characters on TV, but the real people off the screen as well. And that's, the one reason why I like getting, people on my show to show us that we're real people. You're a real person. You know, you got to go. I know it's 10 o'clock at night and it's time to hit the bed. But again, thank you.
I've got a few more calls tonight before I go to bed, unfortunately.
Thank you again. And again, whenever you want to be on the show, definitely jump on. Everybody, Aaron Beelner, thank you for being on the
Thank you. Have a great night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. That was crazy. For you guys who are watching, man, that was a podcast on its own where he just took over the show, and I'm glad that he did, because he just talked about everything that I had questions written out for him. I did. I had a lot of questions written out for him, but he just went off and just did what he did, and that's exactly what this business is about. And I'm glad that I had him on. I'm glad that he spoke about his craft. I'm glad he talked about everything, and it made us realize that outside of what we watch, outside of the shows that we watch, we sit here, we get entertained for the hour that we watch, the 30 minutes that we watch, but we also don't realize that there's a struggle behind everything, you know, that they put into. When everybody watched that Friends reunion on HBO Max, everybody was talking about the guy who played Chandler, like what was wrong with him, you know? But again, it's just, that's the daily struggle that everybody goes through. And you know, thank you, Aaron Beelner, for being on. Thank you for you guys who are watching on Facebook Live. Again, this is going to be on the Anchor app as a podcast. Is going to be on my YouTube channel as well. So if you guys missed it, you can rewatch it on Facebook. You can rewatch it on YouTube. And for you guys who are watching, if you guys haven't jumped on, and this is going to be my plug, my Patreon account, I leave my Patreon account down below. If you guys want to donate anything from $1 to whatever you guys want to, you know, to donate, helps me keep this podcast going, helps me, you know, bring guests to you guys, so that way you guys, and I'm watching the numbers drop down. People are like, oh, I'm done. When they heard the word Patreon, they're like, oh, I'm not going to watch anymore. But for you guys who are on my Patreon account, who are helping me out with Patreon, even on the Anchor app, there's a few of you guys who are helping me on the Anchor app. Thank you guys. Let's give you guys a round of applause for doing that. Thank you guys. And as I always say at the end of the podcast, the end of the vlog, thank you, Aaron Beelner. Thank you guys who are watching on Facebook. And I'm tired. It's only 7 o'clock here in San Francisco, and I'm tired. Thank you guys for watching. The podcast vlog is ended. Go in peace. All right, guys, that is it. Facebook Live is now done.
Recording stopped.